Hey guys, it's Andy Thornton. I'm talking about the Xfinity U.S. Gymnastics Championships. I watched the men's competition and I wanted to give you my thoughts, and also wanted to talk about using AI to create the best world championship team. As you may know, the men's field in particular was very deep in this competition. We had some great all-around gymnasts. We had some amazing specialists. We had 5 pommel horse specialists alone in this competition, all of whom are world class. We had some gymnasts performing several events, but not the all-around. And so trying to put together a 5-man team that optimizes a 3-up, 3-count team finals format between the all-arounders, the specialists, the multi-event gymnasts gets very tricky. So I decided to ask ChatGPT and Claude what they thought would be the best 5-man team. And I was very interested by the results. All right, so as you can see here, I have ChatGPT and Claude with their results on this dry erase board. ChatGPT gave me its answer within seconds, and it came up with a team of Fred Richard, Danila Lakin, Shane Wiskus, Cooper Kim, and Patrick or Patty Hoops. This, on a surface level, appears to make sense, but if you take a closer look, you'll see that there's a problem with this team, and that's rings. It would not be ideal to put Danila Lakin or Cooper Kim up on rings because of their low difficulty level. And Patrick Hoops does not compete rings, so he's not an option there either. So with 3 gymnasts needing to be up on each event, that does create a little bit of a dilemma. Claude, on the other hand, took a little bit longer to give me an answer, but it came up with Fred Richard, Danila Lakin, Shane Wiskus, Cooper Kim, and Kamaron Nelson. So you can see a different 5th man there. Kamaron Nelson had a very strong rings routine. He had very strong vaults. He's potentially very beneficial to have on floor, but he did not perform the floor routine he was capable of on day 1. But nonetheless, he ended up on this 5-person team from Claude. And I started wondering, why are these teams different? This is a mathematical process. I would think they would come up with the same team. So I went back to ChatGPT and I told ChatGPT that Claude came up with a different team that had a higher team total. You can see ChatGPT's team total was 257.365 and Claude was 257.57, so about a 2/10 difference. And ChatGPT admitted it made a mistake. So I was very impressed to see, first of all, that ChatGPT admitted it was wrong, but also it acknowledged that Claude came up with a better team and it changed its mind. So in the end, both ChatGPT and Claude went with this 5-person team on the right. I started thinking, though, that there is a caveat with the scores at the national championships, and that is because USA Gymnastics has some special bonus in place for high difficulty routines. These bonus points inflate the scores. These bonus points are not going to be used at the World Championships, and so does it make sense to use the scores given at the national championships to determine the best team, or should we be removing those special bonus points? So what I did was I asked ChatGPT and Claude to remove the special bonus points, and I told them where it's listed on the results pages so that it was very clear. And I got a slightly different team from both ChatGPT and Claude, but they had the same team, but it was different than the team we just mentioned. So when we take away the special bonus, as you can see here, the first 4 gymnasts are the same, but the last gymnast changes. Asher Cohen suddenly becomes the 5th gymnast on the World Championship team because of his huge ring score. And the reason he is a part of this team is because he did not receive as much bonus as a gymnast like Kamaron Nelson, who was included on several events. And so the difficulty bonus given to Asher Cohen was not quite as high, and thus if we take away that special bonus, he ends up as the 5th member of this team. If you look at their team total, it's 252.95. If we were to replace Asher Cohen with Patrick Hoops again, who was on ChatGPT's initial team, it's only a half a tenth lower, so 252.9. So they are neck and neck. And this is not a slam dunk team by any stretch of the imagination, but it's very interesting to look at nonetheless. And another finding that I discovered was that if we take away the special bonus, the all-around order changes. So rather than Fred Richard being the all-around leader, Danila Lakin is the leader if we take away the special bonus by about a tenth and a half. Shane Wiskus remains in third place, but it's by a much smaller margin than we saw before when the special bonus was in place. Rather than being a point, it is now just 3.5 tenths. And that's because he is not receiving as much special bonus as Danila Lakin and Fred Richard. Spots number 4 and 5 also swapped places. So Taylor Burkhart and Cooper Kim swapped places when we took away the special bonus. So that was interesting as well. Yul Moldauer fell into 6th place in this scenario, just as he did when the special bonus was in place. So this also begs the question, should we be utilizing special bonus points at the national championships when these bonus points are not going to be placed in place at the World Championships? I don't think so. Personally, I feel like if the code of points is doing its job and properly incentivizing gymnasts to optimize their difficulty and optimize their execution, we shouldn't need to add additional incentives. If we do add additional incentives, it skews the scores. It complicates a scoring system that's already very complex. And it may not be necessary. So the gymnasts are already going to be trying to optimize their scores with their difficulty and their execution. And I don't think we can assume that incentivizing the gymnasts to have more difficulty is going to result in higher scores at the World Championships. That may not be the case. We should be letting the scores fall as they do, I believe. And so I think it makes more sense if we're looking at a World Championship selection to take those special bonus points out. Speaking of scores, I do want to point out that the top 3 is a little controversial because of what I would consider the biggest ripoff in day 1 of the competition. And in fact, one of the biggest ripoffs I've ever seen in gymnastics, which was Shane Wiskus's high bar execution score, which was a 7.65. This was a completely unjustifiable, inexplicable, astonishing execution score for one of the best executed, not only high bar routines of day 1, but one of the best executed routines of day 1. It was beautiful. His body line was incredible. It was precise. His release moves were caught with straight arms. His laid out Tkachev was straight body. His Takamoto skills were very well done. They were definitely deductible in terms of not finishing exactly in a handstand, as is the case with most gymnasts who do those skills. That nowhere near explains a 7.65 in execution. I looked at the results from all of the gymnasts, and I found that 39 gymnasts competed on high bar in this competition. Shane Wiskus placed 25th in execution on high bar for that routine. That is unexcusable. I watched his routine multiple times. I started wondering, are they deducting him harshly for coming in early on his Takamoto skills? He does come in early on the jam portion of the Takamoto half and the Takamoto full. Many gymnasts do this. In fact, many gymnasts in this competition did this. This has become a very well accepted technique internationally, and I did not see any evidence that this was deducted the same way on other gymnasts. So it reminded me that inquiries in gymnastics are only allowed on difficulty scores and not on execution scores. Is this right? I don't think so. I think there needs to be a process in place for situations like this, where there is a completely unjustifiable execution score that is being questioned by many. There needs to be an official process where these execution scores can be questioned and explained for transparency. There can be a meet referee, there can be a committee, perhaps USA Gymnastics, or if it's international competition, the FIG, who can subpoena the judges' notes to ascertain where their deductions were. And if the judges cannot justify their deductions, there needs to be discipline or some kind of ramification for that, because this needs to be a very fair process. And it is not right that a execution score like that can be thrown out with no process in place for questioning it. In my opinion, that execution score should have been over a point higher, perhaps a 9. Would have been very understandable for that beautiful routine. Similarly, Taylor Burkhart was also underscored on high bar. He received a 7.7 execution. It was not that much different than the high bar routine he did last year. He did not do the full twisting laid out Tkachev. He did just a laid out Tkachev, but he added a Kasina, a full twisting laid out Kovacs. And the routine itself was very well executed. There were no major deductions. He did his Stalter Tkachev, which is awesome because we never see that skill. And he did a tuck triple back instead of a pike triple back. But I do not understand how he went from scoring a 14.5 plus last year to a 13.1 this year, mostly because of the execution score. So that was disappointing to see. I don't know that Taylor Burkhart is going to be able to find a spot on this team. He certainly is an amazing gymnast. He could be put up on pretty much any event. I think he would make a fantastic alternate for this team, and I know no gymnast wants to hear that. But he is very useful as a backup gymnast. Aside from high bar, I don't know that he would find himself in the top 3 on any other events. But you never know. We'll see how things play out on day 2, how things play out in the coming weeks. You can always have injuries, and he is a fantastic gymnast. So I was sorry to see that he was underscored there as well. Cooper Kim was one of the biggest shocks of the competition to me. I had no idea he would place that high in the all-around. His high bar was out of this world. It blew me away. I loved his combinations. The Takamoto half into a def, which we never ever see, a full twisting Ginger. He did it perfectly with perfect form. The Takamoto full into the laid out Jaeger with full twist, also done perfectly. It was just mind blowing. And he did a Coleman, a full twisting Kovacs at the end of the routine. I was not expecting that, and stuck his dismount. So if he does that routine on day 2, I could absolutely see him on this team. His floor was very stylish, very clean. He's an NCAA champion on floor. He could be very useful as a gymnast in team finals there as well. So AI has him on the team right now. Is he a lock for the team? Absolutely not. But if he does the same job on day 2, I could absolutely see him being on the team. Kamaron Nelson, he is not out of the mix, even though, he's kind of on the cusp, I would say. Falling on floor hurt him a lot. He was a little sluggish on floor yesterday, and the takeoff of both triple backs were a little slow, and that was a little scarier than normal for him. I fully expect he will do a better routine on day 2. He was a world championship finalist on floor last year, placed 4th. His difficulty score here was a little bit lower. It was 5.8 as opposed to 6.3, which he had last year at the national championships and the world championships. I don't know if that had to do with not getting credit for the pike triple back, where it was questionable if his hands touched before his feet. I did notice that he did 2 front fulls in his routine. He did a front full after the 2.5 on his side pass, and he did a front full before the double front after that. I'm not sure what was going on there. I'm not sure if that was a last-minute addition or oversight, but you can't get credit for the same skill twice. He also dismounted with a tucked half and half out instead of a double layup full out like he did last year. So he did a very strong rings routine. We could certainly use him there. He's very strong on vault. If he does the floor routine he's capable of, he will be right there in the mix. And the other question is Yul Moldauer, is he going to make this team? AI says no right now. I do not think he is out of the mix. He is an amazing gymnast. He did a fantastic job at the Pan American Games this year. He has world and Olympic experience. He looked excellent here. His fall on pommel horse hurt him a lot. He absolutely needs to hit pommel horse on day 2 if he wants to make this world team. I think there's no question about that. That is a key event for him and a key event for him to make this team. He is very usable on the other events. He can be used on every event, ideally not on high bar, but every other event could be an asset to this team, even in team finals. His parallel bar routine was one of the most beautiful of the competition, in my opinion. He's very strong on rings, which we do need, especially with Donnell Wittenberg out of the picture. So pommel horse will be the key for him. And speaking of pommel horse, we have all these specialists on pommel horse who are world class. We have Patrick Hoops, who put up the biggest score of 15.6 plus. That's with special bonus. If you were to take away the special bonus, the top 3 pommel horse guys get a lot closer together. It's 14.7 for Patrick Hoops versus 14.55 for Stephen Nedoroscik and 14.35, I believe, for Brandon Dang. So any of these 3 gymnasts could still make the team, even though AI didn't put them in there. I was surprised to see that we didn't have a pommel horse specialist on one of our AI teams, because with the world-class gymnastics we see from these pommel horse specialists, I would think one of them will end up on the team. But with 5 gymnasts, it is very limited, and the numbers need to make sense. So I think the selection committee will need to look at, does it make sense to put a pommel horse specialist versus maybe a ring specialist like Asher Cohen? It will depend on how the numbers play out on day 2. I don't think Stephen Nedoroscik is out of the picture by any means. His routine was incredible, and he has the experience. He has certainly proven himself. We saw such a huge benefit from having him on the team in Paris. You could argue he really sealed the deal with that bronze medal for the team and won a bronze medal for himself. And then we saw Patrick Hoops win a bronze medal at the World Championships on pommel horse last year. So don't count these guys out of a world team spot, but it will be very interesting to see where AI puts them after day 2. I'll be very excited to watch. It's been an awesome meet. I'll be excited to watch the women as well. If you guys like this, I'll do the same thing for day 2 for the men and also for the women. And we'll see if ChatGPT and Claude can predict the world team. Have fun watching.